This is a critique for 450 Devil touchSphere. Main points on this were just some posing issues. So for example here, I'll play through the shot actually first. There we go, whole thing all in one go. The intention for the shot is all pretty good. I just want to, so for here for example, this body is all moving as one across the frame, which is a bit disappointing. It would be really good if the head led the body. So for example, from up here, let's do white, that's better, going to be better. Up here, if this is the body initially, then we go to head leading, leaving the body behind, head arriving, body still behind, head settling, and the body catching up. And it might be that the head's here and the body's fully caught up. Does that make sense? So you get the head leading the body arriving, and the most fun thing about that is that when you get to these sorts of poses, you'll be able to have that tail have a nice follow through as well, so that by the time you come here, that tail's down here, and then over here the tail goes down to where it is now. Okay. Another thing I was noticing was that you've got a funny thing happening with this right hand here. So it moves in, you can see it reach nicely, and then for some reason it sort of pulls back and does a separate settle. What I'd really like to see is, okay, let's get this right. If there's the surface and the hand reaches for it, I want to see it arrive and compress like this. Instead what you're doing is you sort of move towards it like that, touch, and then you pull back and you do that. That's very odd and very artificial. So that was one thing to look at. You've got this hand doing a sort of drifty thing. You may as well do the same thing on this. So this isn't a solid surface, we've established that. It's kind of an amorphous energy ball, hologram-like thing. So if you're going to make this hand move, then you may as well make this hand move a little bit as well. And it'd just be something like this, you know, just like it's pushing against something, and it's got some sort of resistance, but it's got some give to it as well. If he really wanted to push his hand through it, he could, but he's not pushing that hard. Then the next thing is that when he turns and looks up this way, the whole body is all moving simultaneously at the moment, and you need to break that up. So I mean, it's probably about 2 or 3 main poses, and they're all happening on the same keys. So let's say for example his eyes have moved first, right? Fine. The eyes have moved up first and he's turned his head a little bit, but leave the body where it is. Put it back down there, don't move it yet. Then a few frames later, the head turns a little bit more and the eyes are already there, and the body's starting to think about it. And then a few frames later again, the body starts to turn and the shoulders may adjust and the whole pose arrives. It's difficult to show here because I'm talking about twists, but basically let's assume that the body has twisted by this frame. So just let those shoulders stay where they are, don't move the hands yet initially until a few frames later. Okay? Right, another thing I wanted to look at here was these peeps in the foreground. What you're doing with them is great, it's just that they kind of feel like a locked couple. So if we assume that's one peep and that's the second peep and they're now together, they do this drift across the frame and they are in a locked orientation the whole time. What would be great to see would be some sort of rotation. Maybe not that way, maybe it's that way, anything, just so that we get a sense that they're not just on a platform that happens to be sliding along underneath them in a fixed orientation. They are drifting, like that sort of thing. I think that was it. Otherwise this is coming along nicely, and all the timing for the laugh and everything is all working well, and I like the expressions. Good stuff. That's all. Thanks.